Welcome to Residential Tech Talks. I'm Jeremy Glowacki, Executive Editor of Residential Tech Today. On this week's podcast, Paul Williams joins us from Salt Lake City, Utah, where he's Chief Product Officer for NICE North America, the global manufacturer of smart home security and building automation solutions. NICE, which was founded in Italy by current owner Lauro Buoro in 1993, acquired Nortek Security Control from Melrose Industries back in October of 2021. In September of this year, the company announced that it would be sunsetting Nortek Control as a company name and absorbing several of its custom integration brands into the NICE brand. By integrating ELAN, SpeakerCraft, and Panamax into the NICE brand, the company says they will be progressively leveraging their full portfolio of solutions for home and building management. Other NICE North America brands, 2GIG, Abode, Furman, Geffen, High Security, Intellivision, Linear, Mighty Mule, and Proficient will not be renamed at this time. Confused, concerned, or excited, the emotions run the gamut for the custom integration industry, and that's why I thought it would be great to have today's guest on to explain the changes a little bit more and talk about new products that were introduced at CEDIA Expo this fall. Paul Williams and I go back to the earliest days of Control 4 and more recently during his time with Savant-owned GE Lighting. Needless to say, when a company is going through changes, it's great to know a trusted and respected familiar face there. Paul Williams, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining us today.
Jeremy, thank you very much. Pleasure to join today.
And I said a lot of product brands and stumbled over a couple of them. There's a lot to keep track of there for sure. And I was fortunate to be able to come out for a press preview of this big change at NICE North America headquarters, which we didn't even know was going to be called that when we were invited out. And so that was an excellent chance to catch up a bit in Carlsbad, California. And of course, you and I know each other from your 14 and a half years at Control 4 and your recent stint, like I said, at GE Lighting. So before we get into all of the crazy fun stuff here with the new branding and ownership and all that, I'd love to just know how you got into the industry in the first place. How early in life were you interested in tech, and where'd you get your start?
You guys, great question. I have been interested in technology forever. It goes back to my childhood. I would take things apart, put them back together again, sort of put them back together in some cases, drive my parents nuts. But very engaged in technology right from the very beginning. Started my career working in manufacturing in electronics, hand assembling PCB circuit boards. As I was in high school, it was a part-time job that was in the music industry. That led me into working for that company a little more full-time as I progressed and got through college. And that company was acquired by Harman. So then I had this really good feel for audio and for performance audio and pro audio in particular, which then started my passion around that. And then through several other positions that I held where I was in high-tech organizations, early in the dot-com era where we were developing products for co-locations and server farms back in the dot-com era. So electronics there and high-tech on the cutting edge kind of electronics and systems that were there. And then ultimately then getting into Control 4 in the very early days. I was employee number 15 or 16, somewhere in there. Back we had things that were written on whiteboards about the wonderful world we were going to create in the smart home. My first endeavor into smart home, it was a new concept for me, and just completely fell in love with this industry, with what we do, with the technology, with the solutions, with the customers, with our dealers and integrators, with the industry press like yourself. There's a little flattery there. And really so in love with it and have spent now almost 2 decades in this industry in a couple of different companies, as you mentioned. So that's my love, my passion. It's what I enjoy doing.
Now, your Control 4 run is really interesting to me. When you look on LinkedIn and kind of just read through your roles there, it's 14 and a half years, but it's not just a static position in one role there. You encapsulate so many areas of evolution in that very influential brand now, from startup, as you mentioned, the whiteboard in 2004, I believe, and you were VP of operations, and then you wrapped up your tenure as VP of Product Management. Along the way, held many roles in between that were in so many, I guess, probably pivotal evolutionary development areas of the company as it expanded and grew. What were some of the valuable tools, lessons, experiences that you think that you picked up in those years that you can now apply to your role as a veteran in this industry with NICE North America?
Yeah, I think there's some really good learnings that I've learned, and I don't know about you, but some of the failures or challenges, I guess, not necessarily failures, but the ultimate challenges are the best learning experiences. When things go great, there's little you can do to improve upon that. You go, oh, it went great, or maybe I could do it even better next time. But really, where the learning comes, and you get some of that, but the real learning comes from the challenges that you have. And I think that some of our listeners, some of your listeners that go back in the Control 4 days, I would say, did we start off on the right foot at the right time? No, we had some challenges with this for the first solutions of Control 4 that came out that gave our integrators and dealers some challenges out in the field. And from that, I learned a lot about what it is that we need to do as an industry to develop better solutions for our dealers. At the end of the day, they're the ones that have to bring these solutions together for our consumers. And if we're making their job hard, we're making it difficult, our brand, our products, they won't go very far because they'll just stop doing it. Some of them have a passion. They'll get into the bandwagon with you, but you've got to be making improvements or they have a hard time sticking with you. So I learned that about the industry. I learned a lot about scalability and capability. One of the roles that I held there at Control 4 was running our hospitality division all the way from full P&L from sales all the way through deployment. And we had some big projects in there. The City Center project in Las Vegas came under my jurisdiction, and it was a eye-opening learning event about taking a solution to scale. When you have 4,500 rooms between Mandarin Oriental and the Aria Hotel that are all running the platform, and there's this pressure to get this thing done because the opening date's not moving. It's a grinder, and you learn a lot about what you need to do as a manufacturer of both hardware and software, because there's a lot of software that's on that project, in order for it to be stable, in order for it to be scalable, in order for it to work. So a lot of lessons learned there. In that process. And then through product management, just understanding that the voice of the customer is so important to what we do. And that voice of the customer is really two different levels. There's the voice of the dealer that we absolutely pay attention to, which are what are the things that you're hearing from your consumers? What are the things that you're challenged with and you're finding? What could we do to help your job be smoother, easier, better, and more reliable? And so that you can go into a job, leave the job, not have to worry about coming back. But also more importantly is like, what's the consumer want? Because we need to be able to create demand for our dealers through that pool. And so the voice of the customer is one of the things that I've learned over the years has been so critical to what we need to do as an industry is listen, understand, and observe. There are a lot of problems we solve that customers may not even realize are issues or problems today. And if you only listen to what their problems are today, you may miss what could be some really big things that could change their lives and impact them in a positive way. So those are some of the big ones. I've got a lot, but those are some of the big ones I've learned.
No, that's a lot of good stuff. And as I, spent some time with you and your team out in Carlsbad prior to CEDIA this fall, it was great to see this beautiful headquarters facility, the North America headquarters there, and the impressive experience center that's been built with all the products that come together in a smart home, basically within the NICE brand now. And I get to know your executive team better and understand your brand strategy. After years of what I feel like was kind of a tumultuous Nortek core brands kind of thing, NICE seems like a really stable place to be now. And that was probably your intent for us to see when we were there in person, but maybe you could help put a little bit of faces in the company that folks may not know that are part of your team there. And at the top, I know there's a lot of people, you don't want to name everybody, but some of the folks that were there that day that you could share that maybe folks in the industry know and can say, okay, now I get who this group is, this NICE brand that I wasn't really that familiar with a couple months ago.
Yeah. You bet. I was first of all, it was really good to have you there. As you mentioned, I think at the very beginning, you came under the premise that you were going to come see Nortek Control and came to a brand new branded building of Nice North America, and then our new experience center. That you were the first ones to go through it. If you'd been there like 24 hours before, like any project that our dealers and integrators do, 24 hours before the customer takes control, it's always chaos. And it looked like that, but I think we buttoned it up pretty good at the very end there, and showed well, and continues to show well. It's a great solution for us. So let me give you just a little bit tidbit on Nice and who Nice is, because maybe the listeners don't have any idea who these folks are. So Nice is a company you mentioned in the very beginning, been around for quite a long time, founded by Lauro Buoro. Really impressive operation, impressive leadership, all the way from the top. So Laura Roberto Griffa, who is the CEO, corporate CEO, is fantastic. Understands not only that industry that they've come from, but even our industry, and has a deep understanding for what's going on in North America, and spent 12 weeks of the summer with us in Carlsbad and traveling around the United States to even learn more about it. So very engaged and very in depth into what's happening and what's going on. Really driven. I mean, our goal is that we are going to be the world leader in home management solutions. And that home management solutions comes from the historical parts of what NICE has had in the past. NICE has developed garage door operators, gate operators, blinds and shade control. In fact, a lot of our dealers are probably using the listeners here are probably using NICE shades without realizing it, because it'll be branded somebody else's shade, but there's a NICE motor inside of that shade. And so really great depth and breadth in being able to bring those solutions. And then recently have added in home automation as part of that solution. They acquired a company called Fabaro, which is a company out of Poland that was really doing pretty awesome smart home solutions through Europe, and a little bit of entry into the United States. But really the growth that they wanted to get was North America. It's a big part of where the economy is when it comes especially to the connected home and to home management solutions. And so thus then looked at the Nortek acquisition, and it was a big swing and actually a really good acquisition for them. But the thing that we're doing, and this is the thing that folks that have been dealers or been acquainted and seen core brands and Nortek over the years, is that there were ownerships that were coming in, because it's traded hands quite a bit, to be quite honest. But there's never been any kind of, I would say, revolutionary change to what's happening. There's some to be evolutionary, and some of them didn't do anything at all. And this change is really revolutionary. We are truly acting as one team, one entity, one organization, pulling together all that we can do globally, with 3,000 employees worldwide. So it's a significant company that we're part of here, bringing those together to deliver these solutions. When they acquired Nortek, they brought in our new CEO for NICE North America, Eduardo Malfi, who came over from Europe, came over from Italy. He was the corporate COO for the company. Great person. You got the chance to spend some time with him and learn a little bit more about what he's doing. Really talented operator in being able to understand what's going on, but very also passionate about that customer experience and what we're doing in delivering this great solution. With that, we've also got Luca Longan, and Luca is our co-CEO, or I would say deputy CEO is what I should say. And he's also part of the organization based in Kent. NICE North America is what was Nortek before, is also High Security, which was an acquisition by NICE, I think in 2018, and they do industrial commercial gates and hostile vehicle mitigation. They can stop trucks at 50 miles an hour from getting 1 meter inside of a perimeter, used in embassies and government facilities to protect those places. So that's also part. And then we have NICE Canada, who was another acquisition in 2017, 2018 by NICE as well. And so those three organizations have come together to form this NICE North American, which Eduardo and Luca are then heading up managing that organization. And then you also met at the same time Mark Burson. Mark Burson is one of my comrades in arms for our chief marketing officer. And we head up the between product and marketing head up those parts of the organization. Those are the folks that you met with at the time.
Yeah, and I have to say, just as a side note, as we get into this, that the high security part was pretty cool. I think a better word to say than cool. We get used to hearing about smart home products, and as press, we cover it, and not a lot of surprises. Sometimes there's a new thing that comes out that we just think really is a home run, but we have never really seen products like the high security gates products that are just so industrial, and to see like how it basically rips the front off of a truck if it's trying to breach security going into a high security building. Those things are pretty awesome, and not your typical smart home type of visibility. You don't usually typically hear about that kind of thing. So that was interesting, for sure. But I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about, so the company isn't just like brand new into the U.S. market. You mentioned some things, but you really entered the U.S. market in 2008, again with the alarm systems and industrial doors. So
Yep.
yeah, that's another thing, because when I guess when I heard about the purchase, you think, oh no, this is some Italian company. They're not going to know this market. This is going to be a mess, and that's not the truth at all. The Abode Systems acquisition in 2018, then
Yep. It's another one as well.
out of Palo Alto, which is more of a do-it-yourself smart home security system. So those types of aspects of the company maybe not clear. There's so many components here, but that to me gave me some feeling that not only do we have some people like yourself who are well versed in the North American market, but also the company's been here for a little while too. So good stability there out of the gate.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that is one of the things that's played nicely. They've had the opportunity to be here in North America, understand the market, and we're able to then make the right acquisition strategies. And Nortek was definitely part of that.
Yeah, and so of course the little bit of controversy is sunsetting certain brands, and in the custom integration business, we know these brands very well. Maybe the outside consumer doesn't as well. So there could be a case there for rebranding. But even while I was there on that trip, we visited with one of your dealers, your integrators, who is putting in products of yours in MDU buildings. I've actually had him on the podcast, and ELAN is a big part of those installations. And so just from a visibility standpoint, ELAN is there as an interface. The decision must have been kind of difficult to pick those products and figure out which ones need to blend into the nice branding. Can you get a little bit into what it took to make that decision, and maybe a little bit of the feedback you've had so far as dealers have had to absorb that news?
Yeah, you bet. It's taken it took a long time for us to go through those decisions. When I first arrived in February, I've been here since February. Those discussions were actually ongoing before I even came in, and then we're ongoing until we got to CEDIA for the most part, or at least until we had you folks come out a couple weeks before CEDIA. It wasn't taken lightly. It wasn't like, hey, we're just going to be nice and we're going to put nice stickers all over everything and nice logos all over everything. We took it very seriously, and we looked at it from a couple of different, not just a couple, many different angles. If we look at the brand, yeah, there's a lot of passion around brands, and in this industry in particular, I would call it almost religious. How our integrators and dealers handle, especially control brands that are out in the market today. There is a religious battle almost that happens if you go out onto forums and take a look, and it's and you see it in action today, which I think there's some healthy parts of that as well. And so you take a brand that's been around for a long time. The ELAN brand's a well-known brand, been around for a long time. And I'll start with that one. And you go, if we're going to take that and move that into nice, what would be the motivations for doing so? And there's a couple things that drove us to that. The first one is that we believe that there's an opportunity for us to have a broader discussion with consumers. for a broader discussion to be able to promote the NICE brand globally, but also within North America, to be the brand, once again, that's that home management solution that we want to be the world leader in. And in the world of marketing and especially in brand equity, maintaining and growing a brand is very expensive. It costs a lot in real dollars to be able to get the message out there, to be able to get the product out there, and to have that well known is really hard to do. And a couple of companies have done that, and so that as integrators in our industry, as integrators go out, they are sometimes asked for those solutions because that's the name they know. That is typically their friend, their relative, their neighbor told them about it, and so that's how they're coming into that, because nobody's taking out Super Bowl ads in this industry. So it all mostly happens through word of mouth. But in order to build that brand, it still takes a lot of investment into that brand. And so we looked at it from that angle and said, where is our best effort put there? Because what we want to build is this solution. It's not just, the classic ELAN part of the products, but it's bringing in gate control. It's bringing in garage door. It's bringing in blinds and shades. It's bringing in security and bringing those kind of applications of the products that we have in those solutions, bringing them together. Would it be better under another umbrella? And we believe so. We spent a lot of time talking to dealers that ranged a gamut of, you guys are crazy. Let me go find your straight jacket so I can tie you up right now and hit you in the head with a baseball bat while I'm doing it. And all the way from that to, well, yeah, that makes perfect sense as you talk through the strategy. What we're finding as we continue the discussion, even those folks that were on that other end of the spectrum there that want to put you in a straitjacket, when you start talking to them about how we're building a solution that's everything's talking together and that everything's working together, and it makes it a lot easier if we can go into a consumer environment and go, well, yeah, you've got the nice garage door, you've got the nice gate control in the house, you've got nice security, it's already built in here. We're just adding in on the rest of the part here that brings it all together, and that's this smart home platform. And so ELAN made sense for us to do that. Now, we're doing it in a way that we believe is reflective. We didn't pull the Band-Aid off and start just labeling everything nice. We're being pretty cautious of how we proceed through that over the next year. New products that are coming out, new remote control. I think we'll get a chance to talk about that here in a second. That we announced at CEDIA and showed at CEDIA is coming out with a NICE brand on it. New products will come out with NICE. You'll see packaging. In fact, our user interfaces today say ELAN, a NICE brand on the user interfaces. That's a new version of software that's coming out here shortly. And that will reflect it on touchscreen interfaces, remote interfaces, and also the mobile interfaces. So you see that. And we'll keep that way. Packaging will transition to that to be able to show it's a NICE brand. And we'll keep that in place for a while so that we can smooth people along the path with us at the same time. And that way we don't just leave people out there on their own. But we believe there's a lot more might that we can put behind the NICE brand that allows us to make it so that we can create that pool, because ultimately we want to create a pool for our dealers and our integrators so they're not out there having to pump it and be the only ones that are out there telling the story about who we are. And we believe that we can do that in a global way, and it will mean something. So that's how we decided that. And that same thing goes to SpeakerCraft, goes to Panamax at the same time too. Well known. I mean, some of those, at least one of those brands created the part of the industry for the industry that we're in here, the CI channel. And so, we want to be respectful of that because there's the history there that goes along with that. There's also, once again, that respect that we have for the brand. And we're trying to treat those in a way that brings them along the path with us rather than shoving them out the side. And we believe there's breadth and depth that we can gain in doing so.
Yeah. And that, when you put it in that way, it makes more sense because these are acquired brands. And at one point, SpeakerCraft was its own company, and then it was acquired and it became part of a family of different named products or brands within a global brand. And so to try to have those all associated with each other as a solution in a home, different names, it doesn't necessarily work as well, like you said, on that investment for the company to be able to have to brand, support so many different brands out in the market. So to make it one brand name makes a lot of sense. And then likewise, conversely, those other brands that you don't have the renaming yet, they're in different industries. They may be a broadcast product or commercial products. So is that, or actually, I guess, music production as well. So is that something like in those spaces that they can sort of stand alone and don't need to be part of the family necessarily?
Yeah, we looked at those. If you in specific, if you look at Furman and Geffen in particular,
Yeah.
right? They actually, while they get used in our channel, in this channel, they actually get used a lot more in other channels, and they get used in the music performance industry,
Mhm.
in sound reinforcement part of the industry, and then also in commercial applications. For instance, our Geffen products are used in all the Super Bowls to help do all the screens within the facility and be able to pump video around the stadium, and then also supply feeds into the network. And so they have a little place that's kind of carved out for themselves, and that's why we've not looked at bringing those into the Nice brand, because they make sense to be out there. They're kind of independent from building this ecosystem. And what we're doing is we're really thinking about this as that ecosystem. You mentioned it just a second ago, but if I'm in a home and now it makes sense for a consumer, I've got my nice control system that's controlling my garage door. It's controlling my gates. It's controlling my blinds and shades, controlling the rest of the house, my security system. And so it all kind of ties together there, where we wouldn't typically see that Geffen or that Furman system in a home operation. So
Right.
a little different application.
Makes sense. Well, after the break, we will continue our conversation with Paul Williams and talk about CEDIA products, introduced products at CEDIA.
Do you want superior smart home automation at a great value? Shelly Wi-Fi relays by Alterco Robotics cover DC to line voltage, allowing you to control lights, outlets, appliances, garage doors, pumps, and much more. There are Shelly sensors and power measurement devices to help you measure temperature, humidity, lux, or motion, and electrical consumption from single wire to 3-phase with neutral. You can use Shelly with a licensed driver for Control 4, ELAN, or other premium systems, as well as your customer's existing hub, voice assistant, or any platform that accepts REST, MQTT, or CoAP. Shelly can make IoT very easy. Available now at Blackwire, City Electric Supply, and Worthington, or at shellyusa.com.
Welcome back. We're talking with Paul Williams, Chief Product Officer for NICE North America. And as I teased at the break, Paul, it'd be great to talk about more specifics on those new products that you mentioned earlier, specifically starting with the first NICE handheld remote, the HR40. I love a remote. I love a user interface. I think most consumers think of that as the system. What makes this particular remote different and special as a new product?
Yeah, we're really excited about it. And as you mentioned, it is the face of the control system for most consumers. It's the thing they're going to interact with probably the majority of the time that they're in the house. In fact, not just probably, they will interact with that more than they will any other thing that's in the home. And some customers get to know the system as that remote, and they'll as they announce it to their friends and relatives, like, I've got this great remote. Well, behind it's a whole control system that makes the whole thing work, but they know the remote control. So it's important for it to be have a good face forward. Those of you that are familiar with the ELAN product line know that we've got our HR30 remote control. I would say it is absolutely functional. It works great. It's a great remote control, but it doesn't kind of have the new look of where remotes have gone today. So it's a little dated from that perspective. So we wanted to first of all look for, what do we need to do to get this thing to look like it should belong in a home of this age, of this age of where development and technology is today. And so we designed it for there first. Secondly, one of the driving principles of NICE, and if people get a chance to go look at niceforyou.com, you'll see the products that we manufacture as a company. Italian design is built into everything that happens, even if it's a industrial component that may be in a commercial setting or in an industrial complex. It's still designed to look beautiful. Just because it's in that environment doesn't mean it shouldn't look good. Doesn't mean it shouldn't look great, in fact. And if you look at our products, they look beautiful. Overall, is nice. So we pulled that into, and that's a driving part of what you'll see coming forward from NICE North America, is a design first almost element that's part of that, where we're making sure these products look good. But even more importantly, when it comes to remote control, ergonomic, simple to use, and it is going to really be a great feature for our consumers and for those customers that are using the remote control. So built with ergonomics in mind, it's got a great feel in the hand, has great materials to make it feel nice and also look nice at the same time too. It has a touchscreen element on the top half, curved glass, so it looks like it's a modern interface that's there. Customers will be able to access their home, full home control on there, and things that make it unique. There's a couple of things that we've done with the remote control. One, if answering the front door doorbell, smart doorbell, you can see the person at the front door live video, and then you can interact with them. It has full voice control, two-way voice control on it at the same time too, and voice interaction. So I can use that to communicate to somebody who's at the front porch. So without leaving the comfort of my couch or my comfy chair, watching a movie, and somebody's at the front door, I can answer that and have a conversation with them to say what I'm going to do. Unlock the door from there, and have them bring a beer on the way to the theater, right? If they want to. Right. So that's a unique feature. And then also full camera viewing at the same time too, with the ability for us to be able to turn it aside and do a landscape view of your cameras, to be able to view those and see what's happening in the home from a security prospect. So we think that's unique. And then also full intercom within the home to our touch panels within the home. So being able to have that be a full participant in a home intercom system, we think is pretty unique. And with voice control on the same time too, initially out of the box with Amazon Alexa, she'll listen to me now, but with Amazon Alexa built into the remote control with a button push that enables that action to occur. So, and I feel pretty excited about it.
That is exciting. And as we've all experienced with the supply chain, you're saying shipping quarter Q1 of this next year. So everything looking promising for that with all the challenges we're facing.
Yeah, we're still in line. It's a challenge. Every day's a challenge. There's always something new that'll come up every day. But right now we're shooting for that end of Q1 kind of time frame right now, and that's where we're in line for. We'll continue to push to those dates.
And then you had some announcements about smart shading, custom roller shades, which is a important piece of that nice portfolio. Not even an acquisition necessarily, part of that original nice brand that you mentioned. So what's new there?
Yeah, so one of the things that we've seen a growing category throughout North America and actually throughout the connected home is automated shading. I mean, it's no surprise. It's been there for a long time. There are some big companies that participate in that today that are in our channel for sure. As we started to talk to our dealers in our community of integrators to understand, what are some of the things that would help you? One of those things was, hey, an easier, simpler, and cost-effective blinds and shade solution that we could put in. And then as an integrator, I can make money selling, right? And so we announced at CEDIA our line of shading products, starting with roller shading. Those products will be available in Q1 as well, and will really allow for a dealer to be able to place an order online. From a materials perspective, because I know that designers are often involved in this and interior decorators, the dealer will be able to order swatches or full books if they want them, to be able to have those swatches sent to the consumer, and the consumer can look at them, make sure the transparency what they want, the color matches what they want, or the interior designer in particular usually can make sure that those all match what they want, and then they can order the blinds. Dealers will be able to order them from our web portal. Be able to order them to size. So they'll give us all the sizes, measurements, and then we'll get delivered. And our expected delivery time is within a 2-week period of time. So pretty quick delivery and turnaround for those. Nice motors inside, as you would expect. And we believe there's an opportunity there. And as we talked to dealers at CEDIA, there was a lot of excitement around that capability and that offering.
Yeah, and as I read some of the description there, it matches up with all the best features of what's out on the market and what the expectations have gotten to be for really high quality motorized shades. So you've got the uniform hem bar alignment, which is such an important part, especially when you're dealing with multiple windows and a side-by-side configuration there. The variety of power options, AC, DC, and battery with both wired and RF options. And the other one that just really jumped out at me was the indoor or outdoor use. So that IC rating with all of the post-COVID outdoor space, developments there in terms of the smart home being able to basically create another temporary room with shades around it is a huge application that I think is somewhat untapped. There's a lot of folks already doing it, but there's a lot of opportunity there as well. So the fact that you've got that going as part of the family is good to see as well.
Yeah, we think so too. There's an enormous amount of work that we saw happen during COVID with backyard spaces and deck spaces and patio spaces that we can lend those solutions to. And then also along with that, at the same time, these are super quiet motors. You can stack them against the competition and will be quieter almost in every case. So very quiet operation, which becomes another part of it. When you've got a room full of 6, 8, 10 blinds, it can, if they're noisy motors, you're going to be in a world that's not so pleasant for a little bit there. So it made them super quiet.
That's another good feature. And going down the line here, you've got some news about the operating system. Maybe you could touch on some of the highlights there. And I know we've got power management as well in the family. But maybe first things first, what's new with the OS?
Yeah, there's a couple of things that are new with the OS. The first thing we did is with our 8.7 release that happened in the summer, and dealers and integrators sometimes even miss the messaging. We try to get it out there, but we added a new utilities section to the user interface, and not just the user interface, but the capabilities, and allows us to be able to show the consumer monitoring for energy and power systems. So if they're using our Panamax power conditioners and supplies, they can see what the current usage is. They can reboot them. They can turn off ports, turn them back on, and outlets on that, and be able to access that from that interface and see what energy has been used over time. We're keeping track of that at the same time too. And then from switches, we're a reseller of Luxel for Luxel PoE switches. We can show those on there. We're expanding those out to some other brands as we head into this next year. So those are also part of what we've built in there, along with the ability for us to measure the air quality. That's another thing that we saw as a growing part of this the smart home and the connected space was really indoor air quality. As people were spending more times in their home, they were beginning to wonder about the air quality in their home. And there's a lot of companies that have come out with the ability to do that. However, we've integrated those solutions into what we do today. And so we can provide the customer with that information to let them know if there's a condition. Once again, all programmable. We can set the limits and let them know there's an issue that needs their attention to be able to bring that in and let them know what's happening with air quality in their home. And in addition to that, water leakage to be able to detect that, but then also using the smart water valves, be able to mitigate a problem. So if we do detect that there's an issue with water being leaked in an area that shouldn't have water, that we're able to then shut that water valve off to prevent further damage. And so some really cool features that we've built into the utilities function. Part of what we announced with 8.8 that's coming out here in the first part of Q1 is that it will have the ability for us to bring in smart appliances. And so we're bringing in smart appliance control and management so that you'll be able to integrate that, see the usage that's happening there, and be able to do some really cool things from a scheduling perspective. If I want to schedule my dishwasher to turn on at this point in time at the night when the rate's the lowest and it's going to cause the least amount of distraction for my family, I can set that up without having to remember to do that and have that happen for us. And also then to be able to measure that energy consumption, which we've seen as a growing trend. We're not the only ones. We see people that we certainly saw some of that at CEDIA with being able to do more of what we consider energy management, not just being able to see what's happening in the home with the energy usage. That requires a consumer to look at it all the time, but to be able to act upon that energy if certain conditions apply. Meaning I've hit kilowatt hours, I've hit a high rate billing time, whatever it may be, that I can make some of that happen for us automatically at home. And that's where we're heading with that, certainly with our capabilities and our technology. And then really adding on to continue to add on to driver development to allow for more devices from third-party devices to be more connected to what we're doing and growing that out at the same time too. So quite a lot that's going on. That's a continual movement. We're always in updates of software come along on a continual basis from our software controls perspective.
Well, and you touched on the power connection there, but you also taking that Panamax brand that's becoming nice with its new version, the DC12 IP power conditioner. So what is new about that versus what had traditionally been in the Panamax line?
Yeah, that's a great question. That got a lot of attention. It's a great product, and it's a problem solver for our dealers. An interesting thing that we've seen happen, certainly over the last 5 or 6 years, is that manufacturers of equipment decided they make the product less expensive by taking the power supply out of the product and putting it into a plug. So you have these big transformer plugs that now plug in the wall. It's all DC all the way to the product. Great for keeping the cost down of the product. Bad if I'm building a nice and elegant rack, because now I have to contend with all these big power supplies and bricks that I've got to put in. And you see the back of these racks that are trimmed out beautiful. Our integrators and dealers do such a great job. And then you've got this eyesore of like 20 transformers trying to plug into 14 strips because they take up 3 plugs for each one of those that you plug in. And there's no elegant way to do that. So our DC12 allows you, if you've got 5 or 12 volt, 5 volt on USB or 12 volt on wires, you can snip the transformer off, take the wires, plug them into our DC12, and allow for that to then be powered and then controlled and monitored. We understand what's happening with energy usage that's coming off that device, and then also be able to toggle those to be able to trip power on and off. We need to do a reboot on those. And it just makes it a much cleaner install. We can get rid of all those bricks and be able to do it in that 12 outlets that we can put into those at the same time. And you can put 12 of the DC powers in and 12 of the 5 volt powers. They won't independently be controlled, but each one of those channels you can toggle to turn on and off and measure power. So kind of a cool product. We think it's a good problem solver for our dealers.
Yeah, everybody loves a clean rack, and that's going to help that immensely, it sounds like. So great yep. work there. And I guess to sort of last but not least, wrap up the new additions from what would have been the traditional SpeakerCraft family. You've got a nice small aperture speaker, which fits right into the trends as well, of trying to make a light that, or a speaker that looks kind of like a light, get rid of that ceiling clutter that we've seen by so many things being up there. So quiet ceilings are the trend these days. So what all goes into that one?
Yeah, it's great. Quiet ceilings. It's kind of a trend. We saw quiet walls. We referred to them as wall acne. Yeah. When you go into a house and you have like 6 gang switches. Interior designers hated those. We got rid of those. We've got like single switches with multiple keypads on them. So you just have one switch that controls the whole area. Then they went to look at the ceiling, and the ceilings were like, oh, we've got all these things up here. We need to get rid of those. So we got rid of those. And so now what you'll see in a lot of homes are these really clean looks with the lighting be smaller lighting systems. You have more of them, but you'll have a 4-inch round or 4-inch square lights that are up in the ceiling in these places. So our new small aperture product line allows for you to be able to put both subs and also satellite speakers up into the ceiling. It's a 4-inch diameter speaker. We've voiced really well. They sound fantastic in true kind of SpeakerCraft form. Sound great with a product line. Available in both a round trim and also a square trim, and even a flush mount, so that it can be mudded in and allow for you to have a zero frame kind of view on the speaker. Once again, available also with the sub. The sub requires it to be put into, because it has a pretty significant thing. You'll have to go into a joist space. Fits within a joist space very nicely. So pretty much new construction on that. However, the satellites, as long as you've got wire there, you can put it into a 4-inch hole. It'll fit great and be able to retrofit those in, or for new construction for sure. We think they sound great. They're phenomenal. And then along with that, we'll also have a 4-channel amplifier that's coming out as well. That comes out more in the Q2 timeframe, but Q1 or early Q2 is the speakers, and late Q2, early Q3 we'll see the amplifier that goes along with those. But they can be amplified by any amplification. So.
Well, that's a lot of fun new stuff, and it's great to see the way that you're bringing in a nice brand without completely just steamrolling over the old brands right away. Kind of a transitional process there, and I know it's going to be ongoing for the next year. What are some of those next steps that dealers who are have been loyal and really motivated by the ELAN brand or the SpeakerCraft brand or Panamax, in terms of their opportunity to change maybe their vans and all the different pieces that go into having a dealership. What do you have on the horizon for that transition for the dealers?
Yeah, and we're here to support them. We understand and value our dealers and our integrators, and we know they've put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into helping us build that brand. And so this change is not easy for them, and so we're going to help them ease through that. And there's programs we're putting in place to help them with van wraps and shirts and signage and all the things that go along with changing that brand over, to help it be as non-impactful to their business as possible. And to help them be able to put the change out there so that we are building the brand at the same time.
Well, Paul, thank you so much for taking the time out. Thanks for having me out, first of all. And thanks for taking the time here to remind everybody about what these changes mean and some of the great new products that are coming out first quarter next year. So I really appreciate you taking the time.
Jeremy, it's been my deep pleasure. Really appreciate the time.
Paul Williams is Chief Product Officer for NICE North America. You can learn more about the company and its brands at niceforyou.com. That wraps up today's show. Special thanks to Pretty Easy Podcast, who produced and edited this episode. And if you're new to Residential Tech Talks, please subscribe to the weekly podcast on your preferred platform and consider rating or reviewing us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, check out all the latest residential tech news at the magazine's website, restechtoday.com, where you can also subscribe to the print or digital magazine and to our Tuesday and Friday email newsletters. Until next time, please stay safe, stay inspired, and let us know if you have a great story to tell.
Residential Tech Talk, lighting specialist to architect, residential tech, home automation device, home or smart house.